Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Another Friday. Here we are. End of another week. And really, I don't know where time is going. I don't know how you're experiencing this. And I don't know. Time is becoming more and more of a thing. It's always been important to me, but it's like it's becoming more and more of a thing. I had quite a few things going on this morning, and I have my whole day planned out. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and I can't go to bed tonight until this is done. Even though it's Friday. And then, I thought I was going to be done with 3 of the 4 things that needed to be done. Now I'm only done with 2. So still some work left to be done. But good afternoon from me, and thank you very much for joining me on this Friday afternoon. Today is the 17th of July in 2020. Can you believe it? And episode 87. And today we want to be talking about decisions. And the reason why I want to talk decisions has been, again, it's like many of the topics that I want to talk about has been on my list for a very, very long time. And then I just don't get to actually do that and watch it or talk about it. And I think the reason for that being that, I always look at what is most important and what will be of most value and those kind of things. And I try and base my decisions for the topics around that. And then things happen in your life. So for the last week and a half or so, I've been dealing with a lot of decisions that I need to make. And I do some coaching sessions with somebody on a Monday, and when I shared with her exactly what I'm dealing with and the decisions that I need to make and what we're going to do, for her it was quite easy. It was like, and that's what I'm going to talk about later. So that was a big insight for me. So I can't give it away right here at the start, but I can tell you that it was of course, that is so much easier. And the whole reason then became like, let me share this with you and what this is meaning for me at the moment and how I'm going through all of this. And maybe, just maybe, there's something in it. And I'm also keen to hear your views, and how do you go about making decisions and all of that. We'll talk about all of that this afternoon. So first was Malcolm. Good afternoon, Malcolm. Very nice to see your friendly face as well. As David Kopp said to me on Tuesday, it's nice to see a friendly face. I was very happy to hear that I still have a friendly face after all this lockdown stuff. But same with you, Malcolm. And then Kobus Klein. Again, Kobus, this is 87 out of 87, if I'm not mistaken. I believe you haven't missed one. So thank you very much. Then Denise Snell. Good afternoon, Denise. Nice to have you. Hello, Francois, there to myself. How do you like the new profile picture, by the way? So we've done a photo shoot, and I've used some of the pictures on my LinkedIn and Twitter, which I don't like Twitter, but Twitter, and then obviously on YouTube, we're busy changing a few things, and very excited about what's to come by the end of this week. By the way, I'll share that with you in a second. Elmin, good afternoon. Nice to see you. Rizan, Lekker, you the reason for my excitement by the end of this week, so don't go anywhere, please. Arun, good afternoon. Very nice to have you here. Siba, thank you. You sent me a WhatsApp to say I'm joining. So here you are. Thank you very much. We've got Stephen Nell. Stephen, you've also been to many of the shows, so thank you very much. Carol, thank you, Carol. I will answer your email, your WhatsApp. It was just, it's a bit hectic, but I will get back to you this afternoon. Ross, good afternoon. 27 grade in Stellies. Seems like it's getting better there. It has to get worse before it gets better. So Salome and Terence, welcome. Neil Phillips, good afternoon. Neil, very, very nice to have you here as well. Yaku as well. Let me see. Terence says, good afternoon, Francois and friends. He said, not enough hours in the day was the previous one. Sorry, I didn't see that. Thank you. And to top it off, Mr. Wessel Westhuizen. Wessel, dankie dat jy hier is. Ek waardeer dit baie over on LinkedIn. And then Neil says, I have to admit I'm looking at your picture, not you. Yeah, it must be better. I can't help it. Photoshop is a lovely thing. All right, so I don't have really some announcements to make. What I do just quickly want to ask is that if you're new here, most of the people have been here now for a very long time. But if you're watching the recording, maybe please consider subscribing. We're now on 525, I think. So still like halfway to the 1,000 that we need to get to and that we want to get to. So please, and share this. If you're an avid listener of the show, you find a lot of value, please tell others about it. It'll be great to have them join us. And then obviously, please remember to like and share and comment on the video because that helps us get it out there. And then I also want to invite you to please connect with me on LinkedIn if you haven't done so already. And then lastly, just, interact with one another and build those relationships, connect and talk. And even if you're watching the recording again, you can still comment. People will still see and comment afterwards. So you're more than welcome to do that. So yeah, good stuff. Sabra, good afternoon. Yes, Kobus, you have not missed one and not planning to miss one until at least 100. Thank you very much. I deeply appreciate it. It means a lot. And Vessel also says thanks. Good stuff, Vessel. Alrighty, so it's not really an announcement, I would say. I would just say that, just a few things. Yesterday, I had the privilege of talking at the FS4P conference. So that's an FSP. It was virtual. So yeah, it was my first virtual talk, if you will. And what I did was I spoke about some golden nuggets. Well, I called it a barrow of golden nuggets, because a bag of golden nuggets or a scoop of golden nuggets just wasn't cutting it. It was I was thinking about a wheelbarrow, there's so many golden nuggets that came from the show. I took 5 episodes and mashed that all up into a talk. And so that was awesome. I really enjoyed it. And thank you to Ian and Lizette for affording me the opportunity to do so. I hope to do many of those kind of things in the future for others as well. So that was awesome. And then, as I said to you in one of the previous episodes, we're busy with the rebrand. So on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, I will have a view or get a view or a glimpse or something about the new logo and the colors and all the stuff that we're going with, and also sort of the positioning around where we're headed. I'm very far with the new website as well that will align with that. So lots happening on that front. So looking forward to sharing that with all of you to make more sense about what it is that I do and where we do it and where you can get hold of what, and have the proper information available that you can consume at your own leisure. So that is definitely, I think, will be a highlight for the end of this week. For me, a week starts on a Monday. So if we're not done by Saturday, we finish by Sunday, and it's one of those good things. So yes, so those are really my announcements. There's nothing else. I am starting to look at doing some webinars, specifically for the Ignite members, and then also to do one more refresher. It'll probably be on income tax. I'm just waiting for the new draft legislation to be published. It's usually this time of the year, so I don't know if it's going to be late. I haven't seen any dates. I must just go have a look at it. But I'm thinking about doing a refresher on tax as well. So we will see whether that will happen, but I'm definitely going to do 2 or 3 webinars as well, for particularly for the Ignite guys. So looking forward to that. All right, so let's get into today. And what I want to talk about is this whole thing about what do you do. Some decisions are so easy to make. They're really not hard. We just do it without thinking. It's the normal things. Should I brush my teeth or not? Yeah, it's a given. You brush your teeth. Should I eat or not? Should I exercise or not? For some of us, that's a harder decision. But for most, you do it without thinking. But I think there are definitely some decisions that weigh on us. It doesn't matter how experienced we are. It doesn't matter where we are in life. It doesn't matter what our circumstances are. There's bound to come decisions your way, opportunities or options or whatever it may be, that you need to decide. Am I going to do X or am I going to do Y? Am I going to go to A or am I going to B? And those kind of decisions can really, really weigh on us. So I thought, while I'm going through all of this, let me chat about that for a bit with you. And I thought it would be a good place to start to say, well, what is a decision? If I had to sort of say a decision, what does it mean to say I need to make a decision? Well, very simply, very simple terms, without getting philosophical or look it up in the diary or on Google or anywhere, it's just like you need to make a choice, and you need to choose between option 1 and option 2. And sometimes you need to choose between one option and 20 others. So there are a variety of things that you can consider, or that you need to choose between. Because whatever it is that we do, we can only do one thing at a time, even though, most women will believe that they can multitask. But it is impossible. We can only really do one thing. And the whole premise about a decision is that when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. And I think that is exactly where the difficulties sometimes come in. It's usually that. So if I say yes to this, I can't do that. So now you get this fear of missing out. And then, but what if I choose wrong? What if I'm wrong? Or, all of that. So we always want to make the right choice. But the fact of the matter is we never really know whether we are. It's very, and I think it's really sort of the decisions that we make without thinking that we know what the outcome is going to be. When decisions become harder, it's when we don't know what the outcome is going to be. We have a hope for a specific outcome. We hope to get what we want, but reality is that we don't know whether we will. So from that point, I think that is what a decision is for me. It's really deciding between option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many options there are, but then understanding that I'm giving something up to do the thing that I did decide on. And therefore, that is really where the thing starts. So what makes some decisions then so difficult? And I've already alluded to a couple of those things, but I think the number one is when you don't know what the outcome is going to be. As I said, you can hope for a specific outcome, you can wish for a specific outcome, you can pray for a specific outcome. But the fact of the matter is, the less you know, the more uncertain you are whether you are going to attain that specific outcome that you would ideally want, the harder the decision becomes. And also, I think there's a few other things that we need to consider. And I'm going to run you through sort of how we can make decisions quicker and how we can make them with more certainty. But I think from that point, we just need to, sometimes just sit back and say, what are the important things in life? What are the things that we really need to consider around this decision? But anyway, I'm digressing a little bit. I think it's apart from not knowing what the outcome is going to be, the other thing that makes a decision very hard is that the cost of not getting it right. So if you get a year or 6 months or 6 years or 10 years or whatever down the line, and it was the wrong decision, there's a cost involved with that. There's a cost to change at that point. It doesn't matter how long into the future we went since we made the decision. And typically the higher that cost will be, the more the harder the decision becomes. So again, it is the more uncertain the outcome is, the harder the decision. The higher the cost of being wrong, the harder the decision will be. And then obviously with all of this, and I just said to you in the beginning, like I'm becoming more and more aware of time, and it's becoming more and more important. And it's exactly that. It is the loss of time. So if I make this decision, but I will only know the outcome in 5 years' time, I've lost 5 years. There is no way that I can get those 5 years back. And that is usually the highest cost of them all. That is the one thing that may make it as difficult as possible. And I'm going to talk about a few things a little bit later that you would actually be able to say, well, maybe those things also add to this, and it makes it even harder when we consider some of the other stuff. But basically, the more unknowns there are, the more uncertainty there is, and then the more risk there is. And the higher those things become, the harder the decisions are. And if you're like me, like my wife always says, I'm a thinker. So I can spend days and weeks and months even pondering something. Not full time, not every single second of the day, but whenever my mind goes off what I'm busy with, I will be thinking about it. And I think sometimes when I have to create programs, I think about it for weeks and months before I actually even put pen to paper or a keyboard stroke to a PowerPoint presentation or something. So those things are I think we approach these things differently. But the point I'm trying to make with that is that it does take a lot of our time. It does take a lot of our energy when we need to make these important decisions. And there's a very specific reason why that is. And I'll get to that right at the end. I'm going to share with you exactly, how I think we should view decisions and what we should focus on when we make a decision. And I can tell you that it is not the outcome. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we go through. So what is the real reason? For me, the reasons I just gave you are like the stock standard, normal kind of stuff. Oh, I don't know. It's too risky. There's too much uncertainty. It's going to cost me too much. So those are all excuses, really. I think what the real reason is and why we battle to make these decisions is because we're not, and also maybe sometimes we just forget, but possibly you and I are not as clear on our goals and our dreams and our hopes as we think we are. we are not clear about where are we going. We are not clear about what it is that we want. You know, we always have a general idea, and maybe we had it 5 years or 10 years ago, but that started shifting and we didn't really pay attention to that. And I've spoken about this in a few other episodes as well. So we have to think about those things and say, well, what is it that I want? Okay, what is important to me? So the second thing is that probably this decision, is difficult for us to make because we are not clear on what is important to us. We are not clear on our values. Because if you know exactly where you're going, okay, why you want to go there, why this is what you want to achieve, and you understand what is important to you, and those two things are aligned with one another, then, it makes it so much easier to make a decision from that point of view. So yeah, it's important. And you need to revisit what it is that you want all the time. You need to revisit what is important to you all the time. And if I say all the time, I mean at least twice a year. You really need to go and look at this, or at least once a year. Just go and sit and just think about these things and just write them down. I know many of you do journaling, and I wish I could do journaling, but I battle to get into that habit of doing that. But I think that is for people that journal and that write these things, they spend time thinking, that makes a huge difference. But for those of us who do not do that, we work on our goals, we work on our values, and then we move on and life takes over, and we forget to match or to measure everything that we want to do against those two things. And that is why things are so hard. When I spoke to Norma on Monday, I said to her, you know what, this is happening. There's a choice that I need to make between this and this and this. And I mean, she sat back and she said, but I'm going to share that with you now. That was just amazing. It was just an amazing, amazing moment in my life that when she asked me that. So let me get to, how can you make decisions quicker and with more certainty? Because at the end of the day, that is what really counts. It's like we don't want to spend too much time, but we also don't want to spend too little time. When we make a decision, we want to know that we made the right decision in the moment based on the information that we have and the things that we considered. So that is very, very important. And that is sort of an interlude to what I want to end off with a little bit later, to say, well, this is what is really important, and these are the things that we need to focus on. But if you are faced with any kind of decision, so whether it is to join another FSP, or whether it is to take on another contract, or whether it is to take on a client or not, or whether it is to fire a client or not, or retire them, as we prefer to say, it doesn't matter what you are faced with in life. It is you need to take time to think. You need to take time, and I know most of us don't have time, or we feel like we don't have time. When I just go and sit, and I miss this. I used to, before the show, sit on the stoop, remember? Now I can't. It's too cold. I'll die. You will never see me again if I had to go sit there in the morning. So, yeah, we must take the time to think. And there is enough time in a day or in a week to actually just spend a little bit of time thinking about this. And unless you make time for yourself to be able to think, it's going to be very hard to get to a real answer. Because sometimes we need to think about something, let it go. Think about something, let it go. Think about something, let it go. And then suddenly something like, but why don't I consider these things? But you need to think. And one of the main things that you need to think about is to make sure that you understand what it is that you're actually deciding on or deciding about. What is it really? What is the decision really? What does it boil down to? In essence, what is it really, really about? Sometimes we think it's this, but then it's actually something completely different. So, maybe it's a decision around what example. Let's just say, for example, you work for an FSP and there's another opportunity to move to another one. And the new FSP, their splits are a lot more favorable than your current one. So, so you think like, okay, so if I've got the same clients, I do the same business, I have a higher split, I can get more income that way. So it's going to solve my money stress, for example. But is that really what the decision is about? Is it really about, which one pays me the most? Is it really about my future? Is it really about, what I want to achieve? Is it really about what I want to do? And those are the times when you really need to make sure that you understand exactly what it is that you're deciding on. And that's why the thinking part is so important, because thinking gives you time to conceptualize what this is really about. And unless you know exactly what that is, it's going to be hard. Maybe you make a decision, but it may not be the best decision that you could have taken because you didn't really understand what the decision was truly about. And then the other thing that is very important is that don't just, this isn't the case of, and another friend of mine said to me once that, Francois, this isn't a or question. It isn't, do I do this or do I do that? The question you should ask yourself almost is like, how can I do this and how can I do that? So I know I said earlier that a decision is a choice between two options usually, or multiple options. But the way that we frame it is very important. So what you need to do is to also then, if you thought about this and you know exactly what it is that you decide on, to know what the yes-no option is, but then also to consider alternative scenarios or alternative options and say, but how can we change some of these decisions to maybe I need to let go of this a little bit, but I can keep some of this. It's not a question of taking all of this and leaving all of this. Maybe there's a bit of, I don't know, what's the English word, compromise or something, that, you can sort of get to that place where you can make that decision. And also, I know, that if you give a client 5 quotes or 10 quotes to choose from, they won't choose. So the more options you offer somebody, the harder it becomes for them to choose again. But this isn't about getting yourself more options. I think this is more about having different scenarios that can play out in different ways possibly. And then that will also help you say, no, that one's not for me, that one's not for me, but maybe these 2 or 3 I need to consider. And if I really need to decide between those 2 or 3, then I will definitely go for that one. So from that point, I think that's going to help you a lot. So those 3 things are really important, apart from the things that I'm going to tell you now. And in the description, I said, many people use frameworks. So we like to use lists. We like to go pros and cons. That's the go-to one, right? So we write them down. What are the pros for this and the pros for that? And what are the cons for this and the cons for that? And then we get so bogged down into the detail that, I swear you can literally drive yourself up the wall, through the window and through the roof by just getting into the detail. And unfortunately, some of us are very detail orientated. Okay, we are analytical to the death. So that makes it even harder. So you actually want to you can use that as a starting point. But then there's 2 things that I would look at. And this is what Norma shared with me. So Norma said to me, she sat back and she said, Francois, it's easy. It's easy. Answer me these 2 questions. And I said, yes. And she said to me, number 1, so this decision, okay, if you choose to do it, okay, so it sounds like Mission Impossible, like if you choose to accept your mission. But she said to me that if you choose this option, will it take you closer to your goals? And she recited my goals for me. And she said to me, you said you wanted to work from anywhere. You said you want to travel the world. You said that you want freedom. You said that you want all these things. Okay, so the question is very simple. Does this take you closer to your goal? Yes or no? And then the second part was, and then look at your values. What is it that is important to you? And albeit it's what is important to me right now. Okay, so if freedom is important to me, if learning and growth is important to me, if my wife and my family is important to me, how does it also help me to fulfill those values? Or does it help me to be true to those values? Or is it going to take me away from those values and it's going to replace them maybe with other stuff that becomes important? And it is just like a big spotlight went on, and it makes it so much easier. No lists, no nothing. You just think about it. If you've done the pros and cons, because I think that is definitely important, know what's good and what's not so good. But then if you just go, okay, so on paper this one looks better, but then does it take me closer to my goals? Okay, and then if it doesn't, am I willing to make new goals? Am I willing to sacrifice the things that I've said that I wanted to accomplish, and I said that the kind of life that I want to live? Which I don't think that's a good idea, because there's a reason why you decided to do it that way. So how do you now change and say, well, I'll compromise on this so I can have that? And it doesn't make sense at all. But that was, for me, such a better way of putting together lists and just having a framework and, knowing all these different things about yourself that you need to. It's just very simple. Does it take you closer to your goal, yes or no? Does it help you be true to your values? Or can you stay true to your values if you make this decision? And that decision can be literally everything. Buying a new house, buying a new car. It can be, starting a business, not starting a business. It can be creating a new product or not. It doesn't matter what decisions that you need to make. Okay, do I send my child overseas to go and study overseas? Do I, those kind of things. So it doesn't matter what in life comes your way. You can always use that as a guide. And that's why I said this is for me a much more intuitive approach, because I feel like, I love listening to my gut. I often say no to things without thinking about it. Because simply it doesn't feel right. My stomach goes like, I don't know, it just makes like a little knot. I talk about like a perskemagie, a little peach stomach. So, but it's not nice. So I know immediately like, this is not for me, or I'm not interested in this. And I was fortunate this morning to sit in on the last day of the FS4B conference, and that guy there, Barry Mitchell, if I'm not mistaken, and he was actually saying something that confirmed something that I said earlier in the week, which was awesome for me to hear it from somebody else, because it was something that that happened, and I thought about it, and I said to my wife, well, you know what, if I was a true entrepreneur, then I would have seen all these opportunities with making money with this, and there's the opportunity, and there's an opportunity. But I never go for it, because my mission is not to just make money and to look for opportunity and capitalize on them. My mission is to play my small role to help professionalize this industry. So it wasn't aligned with that. So to say no, even if it was millions and millions of rands that one could have made, it just didn't sit well with me. And that's where I like the intuitive way of going about it. I know for some people it's very, very hard to actually do that and be comfortable with that. They want the list. They want the checkbox. They want to scratch out things and say, you off the table, you off the table, you off the table. But I don't know. For me, just going with my gut has always always worked well for me. And now that I've got this thing like, does it take me closer? Does it help me stay true to my values? I don't think I need much more than that. The one thing that I do want to say as a caveat is that obviously make sure that you've got all the information that you need up front, because remember, you still need to think about it. You still need to understand what it is that you're deciding about, and you still need to look at different options. And the only way you can do that is by having enough information. But once you've got that and you understand the situation, the ultimate gate that you need to get through is those last two. But I just want to give you sort of a tip, something that I learned the hard way more than once, is that whenever you need to make a decision, you need to take money off the table. Money shouldn't even come like, how much is somebody going to pay you? How high is the split going to be? What are the bonuses? What are the shares that you're going to get? What are like all these incentives? Okay, because they make it sound so easy to achieve these incentives, and then you have to sell your soul for that sometimes. So I always take money off the table. And I said, if number one, if you paid me nothing, would I still want to do this? If you paid me the same as what I'm getting right now, would I still do this? Forget the fact that you want to pay me double what I'm earning. Forget the fact, all of that, because that only lasts so long. And you've heard this so many times that you know about how many people that earn so much money, but they are the unhappiest people in the world. I never want to be that. So one of my rules is, doesn't matter, yes, thank you for telling me what you want to pay me for this project, or thank you what you want to pay me for whatever, but take it off the table. Because money does sort of blind us, because sometimes, everybody's got their price. That number sometimes is very, very attractive. But you cannot base, because that comes at a price. Because trust me, if somebody is willing to pay you X, they want Z. They don't want A, B, they want Z. So that's very important. And then I want to give you sort of a bonus tip then, if you will, or maybe what I said earlier to say, what is the one thing when it comes to decisions? Because the problem is, as I said, we want the specific outcome. And when we don't get that outcome, we are devastated. We're like, oh, it was the wrong decision. I wasted so much time. This is just, I can't make decisions. And then it becomes harder and harder for you to make those decisions in the future. So here's my tip for you. It is not about the outcome. Not even close. Doesn't matter actually what the outcome is. What it is all about, the only thing that it is about is why you made the decision that you made. If that was flawed, then yes, be mad at yourself. Then yes, be disappointed. But if your reason for making that specific decision is sound, if the information that you considered at the time was sound, you made it for the right reason, it took you closer to your goals, or it looked like it would, it still kept you true to your values, it was something in line with what you've always wanted to do, and you made the decision and then it doesn't work out. Okay, I just think about people starting businesses. I know about people that started a business like a month before lockdown happened. And I don't know, it's like, what do you do? So it was like, and I had the discussion here in the week now that I think about it. Somebody said to me, like, it was the worst decision of my life. And I'm just like, no, it's not the worst decision of your life. It just didn't play out this time the way that you wanted it to play out. But does it mean that you give up? Does it mean that your decision was wrong? Did you have control over lockdown? Did you have control over what's going on? No, you didn't. Did you do everything you could during lockdown? That's quite another conversation. But very, very important that if you make the decision based on all the information you understood and your reason for doing it was right and it was aligned with everything else and it doesn't work out, no problem. No problem at all. You can make that decision 100 times over with confidence. And that's from my point of view anyway, and what I've learned over the last while. So yeah, good stuff. So let me just see there's quite a few people saying hi afterwards. So Casper and Slanganani, good afternoon. Kuvendra, hello Vaini. And then Carol, now you've made us all inquisitive. Norma Franco on the decision, yes, but hopefully I delivered on that. It should be about your why, absolutely. But do you really understand your why? And there's one thing that I didn't say that I actually left out is one of the things that we need to consider about our decisions is also that we have to consider this. There's no way that you cannot consider this. You cannot put yourself in a little cocoon or in a little box and say, this is only my decision to make, No, we do have to consider the impact on others, on our family, on our spouses, on our children, on our friends, on relationships, on all that kind of stuff, okay? So yes, at the end of the day, you've got to do what's right for you and your family, but you can't do it without considering what the impact would be on others around you as well. Because sometimes something is extremely good for you, but it is extremely bad for others around you. So if you get this brand new job, fantastic, it's all the money in the world, it's what you've always wanted, but you're never going to be at home anymore, unless that's the kind of relationship that you've got, then that's maybe not such a good decision to make because you haven't considered the impact on others. So that's important. JD, thank you, saying good advice. Carol, being fulfilled in what you do is the ultimate success. Yes, and I guess, success means different things. But definitely, I think it's about fulfillment and happiness. And you have to create your happiness. You're not going to get happiness from your job. You're not going to get happiness from your relationships. You have to create your own happiness from inside. And if you're happy from inside, it means that you're really content. You're really happy with the person that you are. It becomes a bit effortless, I think, although life is hard, but it can become a bit effortless. Although I've made decisions where I've not been the right decision, I've taken the lesson and knowledge with me. Yes, that's also important, which I haven't even mentioned, is that you learn from that and you become more clever in the future. So definitely. James Francis sessies in your top 5 van alle sessies. Well done. Dankie, James. Ek waardeer. Good afternoon, Mariette. Nice to see you. Know your source. So yeah, definitely. Good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, that is me, short and sweet this afternoon. Thank you very much. I hope some of you will have a beer if you still had beer left. I know you can't buy new ones or wine. Otherwise, water is on the table. So yeah, enjoy. Thank you very much for being here on this afternoon. I've got my next guest is only on the 28th of July. There may be 1 or 2 other things happening in between. But I will see you back here on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. to spend some more time with you on hopefully an exciting and exhilarating topic. I really appreciate you. Thank you very much for spending the time with me, and have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe. See you later.